In today's gospel, we hear for the first time a list of the 12 disciples who Jesus calls. The 12 who will be his closest companions, who have already begun to journey the way with him. But though here in Matthew we're just getting that list, already Jesus has been busy. To this point, we're told, Jesus' ministry is that of teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom and curing every disease and every sickness. We even heard a few particulars just last week, as Jesus called Matthew to be a disciple, ate with tax collectors and sinners, healed a woman who had been bleeding for 12 long years, and brought a young girl back to life. It is because Jesus has already done all this teaching and proclamation and healing, perhaps, that he finds himself stirred with compassion when he looks out at the crowd. Harassed and helpless, they must have appeared to Jesus as members of a crowd all hungering for healing and for good news. And so there may be an element of pure practicality to what Jesus says and does next. This is a large crowd. How long would it take Jesus to make his way through all of the people gathered there, let alone all the others waiting somewhere among the lost sheep of Israel, all in need of Jesus' touch? How much energy would it take from Jesus to heal them? Already Jesus has accomplished so much, but the work that is still before him will go faster if Jesus is able to call and equip the 12 disciples to join in. From the start, God's work centers around the people Israel. From the early covenants where God promises to build an entire nation out of Abraham and Sarah, naming their descendants Israel. From the to the covenant that calls Israel to go and be God's light to all the nations. And so it is the lost sheep of Israel to whom Jesus sends the disciples now. The disciples need somewhere to start. And we see them but journeying with Jesus after this. And so to go and come back again, they need a boundary line. But it is a boundary line that will be erased as the gospel goes on. For though Matthew is the most Jewish of the gospels, as it ends, Jesus says, "Go to all the nations." Right here this morning, the call we hear Jesus give to the disciples is an active one. Already they have been following and observing Jesus. They have shared meals together. They have walked with Jesus and prayed with him. And now it is time for them to take up the work themselves. Danny Zacharias describes this as a call to active discipleship. He says it is responding to the needs of the people before them, relying on God to bring them what is needed, and carrying on with the work of healing and restoration. And it is not a call for the faint of heart. Jesus will go on to show why it is a call to rely on God, for he tells the 12 disciples to take nothing with them, but to find a worthy house to stay in. And he warns them that they may find houses in towns which will not welcome them. When that happens, Jesus says to shake off the dust from their feet as they leave. Now, in the Gospel of Matthew, I have to admit, there's no clear going or returning of the 12 disciples. But there is a similar scene in the Gospel of Luke. Jesus sends there the 12 disciples, and they go, they share the good news, and they cure diseases everywhere. And then in the Gospel of Luke, Jesus sends out a larger group, 70 or perhaps 72, and when they come back, their reaction is bigger. Then that bigger group comes back with joy, and they say, "Lord, in your name, even the demons submit to us." So already we can see in these three accounts that this call expands to include more and more people, the 12 disciples and then the 70. Here in Matthew, it is a call to go to the lost sheep of Israel. But in Luke, when Jesus sends the 70, they go out to every town and place where Jesus intended to go, no longer concerned about the boundaries of the lost sheep of Israel. And before the Gospel of Matthew ends, Jesus will describe the Son of Man gathering all the nations, separating them as a shepherd separates sheep and goats. And in telling this, Jesus makes it clear that when we give food to the hungry, drink to those who thirst, welcome to strangers, clothing to the naked, when we visit those who are in prison, we meet and serve Christ. All who are hungry or thirsty, strangers, naked, or in prison. All of them. The call spreads not only between the lost sheep of Israel to all the nations and all people, but beyond the movement from the 12 disciples sent here to the 70 who were sent in Luke, to us, for the call is ours too. We hear it in the sorting of all people as sheep and goats are sorted. We echo it with every baptism we celebrate, as we promise again and again that with God's help we will seek and serve Christ in all persons. Now, I admit miraculous or even surgical physical healing may not be your particular gift, but I'm equally sure that offering even a Band-Aid when someone has a small cut is an act of healing. We are, each of us, quite capable of offering compassion when someone is injured, which is its own act of healing. And together, through the work of the food pantry and the Sunday meals, we feed the hungry again and again. The work of reconciliation belongs to all of us too, for the call to reconciliation is threefold: to reconcile with one another, with the rest of creation, and with God. All of us are necessarily involved, and all of us can do the work to mend our broken relationships, which is again an act of healing. For it is God's desire, God who is slow to anger and abiding in steadfast love, for God is eager to be reconciled with us. Amen.